This video is dedicated to my father, Cecil Ray Polk. We filmed this in the summer of 2021. Months later, who could predict that my father would battle COVID-19 for 10 days in the ICU, where he later passed away on December the 27th, 2021. I will always remember him. I will always love him and cherish the memories that we had. He was one of my biggest, if not the biggest, supporter of my life, and I love him. Welcome to Talk to Mr. Benson TV. So today I have both of my parents with me. I have my father and my mother. And today we're going to talk about some deep topics that is normally not displayed on a platform with African-American families. A lot of stuff is normally swept under the rug, and certain issues, certain conversations, they're just not addressed, So the great thing about it is we're living in a time in 2021 where the great thing about what we are dealing with is that there are so many things that is just so prevalent. We have Black Lives Matter, we have LGBTQ plus communities, we have a lot that's going on with police brutality, but I really find it very therapeutic today, and our session today is actually called Therapeutic Soul Sessions. So with that being said, we are going to dig deep into a conversation that we had 10 years ago. And the conversation was something that I had always wanted to have. As a child growing up, that was something that I did not have. So to be here now, 10 years fast forward, to pretty much talk about this subject is very therapeutic. And why I say that is very therapeutic is because sometimes in life we always hold things in internally and don't release it externally. And I think that, if this taping can at least just touch maybe one person, if it could be two people or whoever, I feel that my goal is accomplished. So I guess we can dig deep. So I actually did not write anything down. I wanted to be authentic as possible. I wanted it to be raw. I wanted it to be real. And I actually wanted to show a side of myself that I typically do not show because I am a very private person. However, I feel that my goal in life is to always inspire, encourage, and motivate individuals. And what more of a better way to do that is for me to be an example of what my platform stands for, and that's peeling off the layers of me as an individual. And with that being said, we want to discuss a topic that we had dealt with 10 years ago. So I can actually recall me picking up my father and coming to your house for dinner. Yep. So the crazy thing about that is we've never had a family dinner together. With me growing up, it was always, I heard things about my father. He was not in my life as far as growing up, but I knew who he was. And fast forward now, with me being 40 years old, we have such a great relationship. And with that great relationship, it developed and it happened over time. And with it developing and happening over time, I think that, it made me feel better as an individual, as a black male in society today. But not only just that, but having that conversation, let's rewind for a second. Having a conversation where I said, Mom, I've never had a family photo with you and my father. You and my father has since been separated have not been together for years. Yeah. He moved on. He got married, which he's currently still married. But we've all developed the relationship of still having a type of bond because of me. So I don't want it to feel like it's this big elephant in the room. But with us having this conversation, when we were in the car and we were driving, I remember I asked my dad, I said, "Are you nervous or anything?" He was like, No. I said, okay. I said, I actually feel like my 10-year-old self because I did not have a upbringing where it was a mother and father and we had dinner. Yes, I did have a stepfather who is now deceased, but I just didn't have that family upbringing and bond between my biological parents that a lot of my friends did. So with that being said, I can remember as if it was yesterday. You told me you were going to cook. We came to your home, and I was quiet. You know, you made turkey wings and rice and gravy and all that good stuff, and we began to sit down. And my 10-year-old self was like, "Wow, you know, this is an amazing feeling. This is a feeling that I never had before. Is this a feeling that, you know, so many other people have had who were fortunate to have parents? You know, this is what the feeling feels like." So with that being said, we ate, we had a great time. It was just like such a family bond. And then I remember we talked about grandma, who also is now deceased. She passed away. And we grabbed the suitcase and looked through, I think it was, we were talking about pictures or something.
Yeah.
And I was so nervous. I can remember just like the palm of my hands. I was sweating. I was like, okay, am I going to talk? Are we going to have a conversation? Which you and my dad did not know anything about it. So just to really just be straightforward and blunt, I remember talking about the conversation that I'm gay. And so with that being said, it was a heavy burden that lifted off of me to even discuss it, to even talk about it. Because growing up as a teenager, I had my moments where I was not prepared for it. And I don't want to get emotional. I really don't, but it's just really being real. I think that because I was not prepared for what society was going to give me as a young gay black male. I struggled with wanting to get married. I encountered two beautiful females who still to this day, I have a lot of love for them, but I knew that deep down inside, I could not give them what it was that they needed. And I remember in our childhood home growing up, I had contemplated, I said, do I want to take my own life? And this was a real conversation. I don't think I ever shared it with anybody. I said, you know, these feelings that I have, do I want to live in this world and be criticized and be bullied and have all these things go on? But I said, you know, that's the easy way out. So when we had that dinner and I began to talk to the two of you and I asked both of you, how did you feel about the situation? Did you know that I was gay? Did you have feelings? Or even though my dad wasn't in my life, majority of the time, was there an inkling that you already, you know, felt that, you know, okay, my son is gay? Or did you want to support me? Did you feel supportive?
But me as a mother, I already knew. I never said nothing, but I wanted you to come to me and say, Mom, such and such.
You could take your time, because you're getting emotional. I'm going to be emotional.
I'm not the kind of mother that judges. Because my mother was gay. And I'm not ashamed to say that she was. She had 12 children. Some didn't like it. Some was okay with it. I was one of the ones that was okay with it because she was my mother. And if it wasn't for her and my dad, I wouldn't be here. They wouldn't have produced me. So with that being said, I understood my mother a lot. Not only was we mother and daughter, but we were best friends. And I could always go to her and say, well, Mom, such and such, you know, what are you feeling? You know, how do you feel about certain things? And you know what my mom would always tell me? She would always say, I had 12 children, but I know which ones love me. And I said, wow, like, Mom, you had 7 boys and 5 girls, and you just knew which one loved her. Like, she said, you always have children, and you're going to have children, You don't know what your children are going to be like. My mother and father didn't know what I was going to be like, but they loved her unconditionally. You understand? No matter what her choices in life was, they still loved her. So me as a daughter and as a mom and as a great-grandmother and a grandmother, I know how this thing sort of kind of works. So I knew my son from way back when I knew. I think he was 17 or 18, and I knew he was struggling. Well, I had two other boys that I was raising, which was my oldest son and my youngest son. So I was kind of like growing with them, but as a mom, still not judging because a mother knows her children. I don't care what kind of mom you is. I don't care if you're drunk, whatever, drug, whatever. A mother knows her children. So I never let that be an issue for me. But I always wanted my children to come to me and say, well, Mom, and just feel like they can talk to me about anything. But sometimes as they grow and you grow with your children, sometimes you just got to kind of step back and just stay out of their business. But let them know that you love them enough to, if anything comes about, that they can feel comfortable to you and that's come to you and say, well, Mom, this, that, or the other. And you can be okay with that. So when my son came to me and his dad, and me as a mother, I already knew. But it was just something lifted up inside of me too. Say, finally, he finally got comfortable enough to where he can say, Mom, Dad, this, that, or other. And I could still love him unconditionally, but it was like, okay, finally, I'm not going to judge you. You're my child. I'm still going to love you unconditionally. I don't care what the world thinks, what my brothers and sisters think, or what anybody thinks. Because at the end of the day, that's my child. So regardless of what anybody else felt or thought about a situation, as long as he came to me with it and his dad with it, then we was okay with it. And then I was fine with it. I still love him right now to this day. And I would support him in anything that he set out to do in life. Like you said, if it can help other black families or just another family in general, be comfortable enough and have that kind of relationship with your parents enough to say, okay, my mom is cool enough, but I can also come to my mom, not just as a mom, but as a friend.
Absolutely.
And I can say, Mom, such and such and such and such. And that's all I ever wanted for either one of my sons growing up, because I felt that way about my mom. Because like I said, quote unquote, she was in the gay life too. Like I said, some of my brothers and sisters, they didn't like it. They talked about it. They just none of the other. And she knew the ones that did. But as a daughter, I love my mother unconditionally, no matter what.
So Dad, just to get a perspective from you.
As far as me, I've never, like my son said, I've always been in and out of prison because I was chasing money. But now that I'm out and I'm bonding with my son, when he came to me and asked me about the gay situation, I told him, regardless of what he is, he's my son. I love him. You know what I mean? And even though I'm married, I tell my wife, I'm always going to love my son and his mom also because she's a part of my life because of my son. Nobody can take that away from me. As far as him being gay or whatever, when he came to me, it was my burden lifted off me.
So I do remember when we sat down and we had the dinner and everything like that, and I think it was the ride when I was taking you home.
Right.
And you actually shared with me, I think one of your best friends growing up was actually gay.
Right.
And he was murdered.
Right.
So it almost seemed like an epiphany moment because you had a best friend, although you've been straight all your life, but your best friend was gay and growing up. He was actually criticized. He was actually bullied, but he had you as like a big brother to turn to because you came from the streets. So, it was so taboo to have a person, a male figure who came from the streets to really, deal with someone who was gay. And it doesn't matter if you are flamboyant, feminine, if you just masculine or just, a regular type of gay male. It is what it is. Let's just call a spade a spade.
Right.
However, when you have dignity and pride within yourself to know who you are and whose you are, which I'm still a child of God. None of that changes. What changes is me trying to perpetuate the mindset of living a double life for somebody. So, when they talk about mental health is real because you sit and you think about, should I live my life authentically the way that I need to, or should I bury myself in my feelings and solitude and not be grateful for life? Because there's so many masks that we wear on a day-to-day basis trying to please people. And my goal for us having this discussion is to let, somebody that's out there listening to this or watching this to say, you know what, it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. However, we can talk about the different childhood traumas that led up to me getting to the point where I felt comfortable enough to have this discussion. I can remember during my teenage years, I had so much rebellion going on. You and I did not see eye to eye. We were always arguing, bickering, fighting. And we were going through those different tumultuous situations because I didn't know, what type of gay I was going to be. I love, the LGBTQ plus community for what we stand for. But, you have certain types of people who, quote unquote, to the world, because you are a straight acting masculine male, it's okay, you're fine. But then one of my feminine counterparts, brothers and sisters, are they going to get treated the same? Even, on my day-to-day, I walk in a room or even at work or something like that, anybody is just out there judging you. Are you living your life based upon what somebody is judging you or thinking about you? And that's just something that I'm no longer doing.
Right.
Having a conversation now that is 10 years past and what we had before, it is something that is very, very therapeutic. I can remember where I felt very lethargic years and years ago. I didn't want to get off the bed. I felt depressed. I didn't know how I wanted to, live in a world of being this person who was God-fearing, church-going, loving the world. But deep down inside, I was hurt, and I basically felt like I was dying. When you have all these things bottled up, and actually I can remember the one time where I had my first panic attack when we were in the apartments that we lived in Camden, and I passed out. And I remember my dad, it was a hospital that is in Camden, and I remember him getting a word, and he went to the hospital, and it was just so real experience where, okay, I'm really dealing with these gut-wrenching situations. I didn't know what I was going through. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know if I was going to be promiscuous, if I, just was seeking love out there from other people, because at one point I felt that I wasn't getting it at home only because I was struggling and dealing with so much.
Right.
And I think now, fast forwarding, if there is a family that's out there that has a child that may be struggling, if you see signs, if you know that they're doing things that are not the norm, have these conversations with them. Because if you don't have these conversations with them, you never know what's going to happen. So many children today are, committing suicide. They're out there in the streets. Their parents throw them, away to the streets, and all they know to do is to try to survive. When we go into survival mode, our mindset is, okay, if I'm not getting that love at home because I'm struggling with me being gay, bisexual, trans, whatever the case may be, if you're not being shown that love at home, the world isn't going to show that to you. Especially if you are a fragile individual and your mindset and your state of mind is not as strong as you need it to be. Some are strong because they have developed that growing up, I just have to have tough skin. So I'm either going to make it or I'm just going to be broken. And I was one of the ones who was in between. You know, I was in between because I was living this life where I wanted to please people. I wanted to honor people. I was such a people pleaser. And I said, okay, I'm going to put my feelings on the back burner. And I don't know if I need to act on these emotions. Do I want to mess with a male? Do I want to mess with a female? Do I want to mess with both at the same time? But that was just never my caliber of a person to, you know, deal with that. First of all, it's exhausting. That's just number one. It's exhausting for me, live a double life and go home to what I thought at one point would be my wife. But then I'm worrying about, you know, okay, a male is attracted to me. I'm attracted to them. Do I want to deal with them? You know? Do I want to perpetuate this mindset where like, oh yeah, I got the perfect family and everybody's looking at us. We look good and I have children. And then at the end of the day, I'm laying next to somebody and I'm not happy.
Right, because so many males today, and probably females, are basically doing this same thing. You know, they marry and okay, I love my wife or my husband, but in the back of their mind they're saying, but I have him or her over here that I'm thinking about and basically want to be with. So they struggling with this, you know. So I'm single, you know. I have never been gay in my life, but from my mom's point of view and knowing different things about her, so I told myself I can learn about these type of things because it's so real in the world. You know, male, female, whoever, you know, it's real. But everybody wants to be accepted and know that they are somebody. They're human in this world, regardless of what. They want to be accepted as a person. At the end of the day, we are all human. When we bleed red. All of us. Whether you're black, white, Spanish, Puerto Rican, whatever it is. When you cut yourself, that blood's coming out red. No matter what you are, who you are, ethnic, race, religion, whatever it is. So people just like to be accepted.
And I think that, I hate to get emotional in it, but the key word that you said is that everyone wants to be accepted. And I think that I have learned now in my 40 years that it's okay if you're not accepted. And I say all that to say we strive so much to fit in.
Yeah.
That even when you fit in,
you're still judged.
You're still judged. People are still talking about you. No matter what good you do in this world, you're always going to be judged. People will remember the negativity versus the positivity. So I think having this conversation allows us to have this therapeutic moment to breathe easier and to not worry about what anybody thinks.
It's growth, you know.
It's definitely growth for me because I'm such a private person where I wear my heart on my sleeve. If I love you, I love you, and I love hard, and I'll do anything for you. However, I'm just not an open person. But I believe in being authentic to the point where you can't tell somebody that I know what you've been through if you're not willing to peel off a layer of who you are. It's not about having all this baggage and judging a person for what he or she has done to get to where they are today. It's about helping them unpack that baggage. And whether or not, whatever the situation is, the best thing about it is, you know, you're able to live and you're able to grow and you're able to love. So I think that that's the best part about it.
I mean, to me, even the friend that I mentioned, I told you about, we were so close that people used to judge us as being a couple. I could get anything I wanted from him. And when he died, it hurt me deeply. So once we got around to you coming out or whatever, telling me, I was okay with it. You know what I mean? Because I have gay people in my family
Right.
now. So it doesn't, you know what I mean? You live, you don't judge.
But I think for me, it's not necessarily about coming out. It's just being who you are.
Yeah, well,
Right. I see a lot of people, you know, they want to say, I'm coming out, I'm going to have a party. I'm not coming out of anything.
Right.
I'm just being who
Who
I
you are.
am,
Yeah.
and I'm getting more and more comfortable
Oh.
with who